about 12 years ago, I was needing to, I realized that I needed to spread a bunch of lime on a bunch of farms that I was farming. I was low on calcium, and so I got to looking on the internet and different places, and I found this 30-20 spreader box off of AgChem unit. A guy was selling, and so I went and bought it, and I mounted it on a truck frame, an old truck frame that we had here, laying in the pasture. And the truck frame, it had the axles, the rear axles still under it. And so we took one of those axles and kind of cut it up and made a axle to go underneath the back of this with it. And it had 10-bolt bud rims or hubs on it. And that is the same bolt pattern as a Gleaner combine. So we took the Gleaner combine wheels and put on it. And then after that, I decided I was gonna run it with the PTO on the tractor. And so I found out that the pump that it had on it needed to run at engine speed and not PTO speed. And so I got to trying to find a gearbox or something to speed the PTO up to make it run right or at the right speed. And I finally decided that I would take a manual transmission and put a PTO on the side of it and run the transmission with the tractor PTO, and then run the pump off the PTO on the side of the transmission. And after I got to looking for PTOs to go on the side of the transmission, I realized that PTOs only go up from like 1.1 or 1.2 to 1. So I was only upping my speed like maybe 10%. And I needed to just a little bit more than double that. I needed to be running about 2,500 RPM. So I took the 4-speed transmission and I turned it around, and I drive the tail shaft with the tractor PTO. And I mounted the pump on the input shaft of the transmission, and I run it in second gear, and that gives me, when the tractor is at 1,700 RPM, that gives me about 2,500 RPM on the output or the actual input of the transmission, and that makes everything run right. I'm using this spreader to spread lime, urea, potash, MAP, and DAP. When I bought it, it had a Raven, and the guy that I bought it from kept the Raven monitor, and so I went to looking for monitors for it, and I called Highway Equipment, and they told me to get a DP6, which is what they recommended. That was their monitor at the time, and so I'm running it off a DP6, and which is, the way I understand it, it's built by Ag Leader, and I'm running Ag Leader stuff on everything else, so it just fit right in with my operation. Saving on places in my fields that don't need lime or fertilizer necessarily, and I'm also seeing more even crops because I'm getting more fertilizer on where I need it and more lime on where I need it. So my crops are evening out and my yields are evening out across the field.